Well, welcome everybody. I would like to welcome you to this week's episode of the PartnerCast. We are fortunate to have a new interviewer, so you don't have to listen to me. And we are talking with Jim White with Earthwise of Kansas City about windows. And I have asked Don Tucker, co-founder of MAREI and our rehabber extraordinaire here at our office, to have a little chat because Don's out there rehabbing houses and and Jim's out there replacing the windows. So I figured they would have a better conversation than me that's back here in the office just doing the books and doing the marketing. So I am going to turn it over to you guys to talk about windows.
Thanks, Kim. I appreciate this time. And Jim, I think we'll have a good time here today talking about windows. Briefly, Kim mentioned I've been in construction for 40 years, so I've seen a few houses, I've seen a few windows. So, and that's about all we need to know about myself right now. We want to focus this meeting on Jim White of Earthwise. And Jim, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into some window questions.
Sure. First of all, I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity not only to talk about windows and offer some insight, but also to be a member of MAREI. I really appreciate that opportunity. I've learned a lot over the years that I've been involved with you guys, and I continue to love the interaction that I have with the fellow members. So my name is Jim White. I'm a lifelong Kansas Citian. I am a husband. I'm a father of 3 kids, an entrepreneur. I'm a man in recovery for 22 years. Been the owner of Jetaloom for about 10 years and manufacturing windows for 9 of that. I came from the outside. I was a business guy, and during the economic downturn saw an opportunity to purchase a business and bring some of the corporate knowledge, the good side of the corporate knowledge, into the window manufacturing business. So we are family owned, we're independent, but we're members of the Earthwise Group. And the Earthwise Group is a national membership or an association of independently owned manufacturers that all make the same type of window. So we share knowledge, we share trends, we share buying power. And what that does is it allows us to manufacture the window and offer the great value to the people of Kansas City and regionally.
Wow, it sounds pretty good. For the sake of doing it twice, let's go ahead and put out your phone number and your email.
Sure.
And we'll repeat that at the end of the meeting. Go ahead.
Sure. Best way to get a hold of us is to either call us at 913-777-4862, and you can talk to any associate that answers the phone, or you can email us at sales@earthwisekc.com. That's probably the best way to get a hold of us. We also have some forms on our website, www.earthwisekc.com, that you can pre-fill some forms out and we'll get a hold of you. But calling or emailing will generally catch us pretty quickly.
All right, sounds good. Let's talk about some windows here. When you pull up to a house and you're looking for windows, what tells you that they need to be replaced right away when somebody is, first of all, walking into a house and they're trying to do a rehab bid? Of course, windows is a very big part of the house. How would you tell people the first thing to look at for a house that might need to be replaced?
A couple of telltale signs. One of the things I look at when I go up to a house is I look for seal failure in the windows, and that can be more than just fogging or condensation between the windows. It can actually have a bluish hue that shows up, so that one set of windows may look completely different than the rest of the windows on a house, and that's a true indicator that there is something going on there with the glass. Another indicator is if you look in the windows and it's a nice spring day and they've got a stick or a brick or some ruler holding up their windows.
See that?
When I grew up, I thought that's how windows worked. I didn't realize they were supposed to stay up on their own. But as I've progressed in the business, they should stay up. They should.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing that I'd tell you to look at, and anything that's aluminum, if you have a house that you're looking at purchasing that has either storm windows on the exterior, or it's the old thermally broken aluminum windows on the exterior, that's a pretty good indication that there's an opportunity for upgrade.
Okay, sounds good. So what is your options if you don't want to replace the whole window? Maybe it's borderline. Do you have some options of just improving the window at all? Okay.
Not every window needs to be replaced, and we're not interested in selling you something that you don't need. We work with investors, we work with other entrepreneurs, and we try to be very respectful of your dollars. We do have the ability to just replace glass in most vinyl windows. Some of those aluminum windows we can't touch, and if it's a wood window, there's not a whole lot we can do. But we can come in, replace the glass. We manufacture that right here in Kansas City. So we're able to put that together and service that here pretty quickly. If you have the opportunity and you could bring the glass to us here at our location at 19th and Paseo, we have the ability to turn that in 24 hours and do it very economically.
So you're saying you could take a single pane window and make it a double pane?
Well, we have done that. We
Okay.
had the opportunity on your place to actually do something similar.
Yeah.
There was a window, you had some windows that were single pane wood windows, casements that no longer worked, and we were able to put what we call deadlights in them, or faux sashes, and actually add to the thermal protection of the home.
Well, let's talk about the energy ability for, we're looking at a single pane window. We're looking at a double pane. What affects the cost on these different panes of glass or windows?
If we're talking about energy savings, there is a law of diminishing returns. So you can spend a little bit of money, get a good window, and get the most bang for your buck. Or you can spend a ton of money and recoup a smaller percentage over time. And I'll run this through. So if you have a single window, the single biggest heat transference comes from the glass. So if you have a single pane of glass, that's going to transfer that heat and the cold pretty actively. When you put a double pane in there, what you're doing is you're putting two barriers in, and then you're putting an inert gas between the two panes. So it's not just air that's between there. It's heavier than air, and the molecules don't move as quickly as an air molecule does. So the heat transference doesn't occur quite as often. When you go with a triple, I'm not a big fan of the triple glass. I think that I think it's pretty expensive. It reduces the amount of gas that you could put between the outer panels because you're filling it with something that transfers heat and cold. And it's quite expensive, and it's hard on your hardware. It's heavy. You've increased the weight of the window by a third just by the glass. So for the bang for the buck and having the most valuable option, I recommend going with the double pane.
Okay, and so just to clarify things, when we talk about a thermal window, I mean, is what is a thermal window in your definition of I think you kind of covered it, but I just want to clarify it.
Sure, no, it's a great question. I think any window that has double pane or greater glass can be considered thermal. There are some that are better than others. If you have two panes of clear glass with just air between them, it's better than a single pane of glass, but it's not as good as if you have low E coating on one of the panes. What we refer to as a thermal window is anything that meets Energy Star requirements. That's nationally known that there are certain requirements you have to meet to be Energy Star rated. So if you find an Energy Star rated window, it's a pretty good one.
So the Energy Star rating would have to have argon gas in between the panes?
Yes.
Is that one of the requirements? Okay.
That's one of the requirements.
Okay, very good. So stay away from just air between the glass. It doesn't sound like it does much. You see a lot of advertisements. We all see these commercials, and there's all kind of pricing on windows. I mean, you've got the super cheap windows, and then you've got the Thermal King that does offer the triple pane a lot, and I know that's their selling point. But where do we fall out on the pricing, and is there a spot for all these prices of types of windows?
That's a great question, Don. I think in the Kansas City area that there's room for all these different quality level windows. I think what you have to do as a purchaser is figure out what's going to give you the most freedom. If price point is what you're looking for, then you have to know that you're going to get what you pay for. A lot of times those windows are they're a little bit thinner vinyl, which may or may not be an important thing to you. Our window is about, I'd say we're 3/4 of the way up on the quality side. So if you're looking at our window and comparing it to the best window that's made out there, we're about 3/4 of the way up there, and we are about half priced, halfway up on the price list. We're not trying to swim in that $189 window area, and we're not trying to swim in that $1,000 a hole window area. We finish out about $500 installed.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. I mean, once you've got a good quality.
Don, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that's a retail price. We do have price breaks for volume. We have price breaks for our fellow investors. We have several different programs.
I always found that I hate to go the cheapest. I hate to go the most expensive. I just want a good quality in the middle, because once you spend the money and the few dollars you just don't miss after a while, because you're going to save that on energy cost.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes your window stand out? I mean, there's many window companies out here, whether they're manufacturers or not, but what is your window? How does your window stand out?
Sure. That's another great question. So one of the things that's unusual about us is we are the manufacturer. We manufacture right here in Kansas City. Our plant is at 19th and Paseo. We employ in the community. Your dollars spent here stay here. We're a family-owned company. We are entrepreneurs, so we understand the entrepreneur mindset. We have been in Kansas City since 1974. I'm the third owner of Jetalume. It started out as making aircraft parts years and years ago, which is where the Jet Alume name came from, Jet Aluminum. We don't have any middleman, so you're buying direct from the manufacturer, which allows us to give you the best value for dollar. There's nobody that's going to be marking up our price to install windows in your home. We offer custom colors. We have no pressure sales. There are horror stories out there, Don, about sales guys that have come up and they're going to show up and stay until they get a signed contract. And for me, there's nothing more frustrating than that as a homeowner.
I can comment to that, that's why we have used you in the past. You're correct. There's no pressure sales, and I do know about these other companies that if you sign on the dotted line today, we'll give you this price, and it's just pressure sales, and nobody really likes that. So I applaud you on that aspect for sure.
Thank you. I think it's just an extension of how we want people to do business with us. Just
Right.
Give us the information, and if we have questions, we will get back a hold of you. And that's how we try to treat our customers. We do custom colors. Now that is something that is pretty unique to us in that we do color coding in our plant. So if you don't want white, if you don't want tan, you have the ability to do just about any color under the sun on the exterior of your windows. It takes a little bit longer because there's a special paint that we have to get and bring that in, but we can do color matching, we can do color coding, we can color code your grids on the exterior so that matches the outside. So we've got a couple of different options there. It's one of the benefits of working with the manufacturer that we can do things a little bit differently, and we're not hamstrung with just what we're able to sell on a sell sheet. We can do things that are kind of unique. The biggest thing that we have to offer right now is a 7 to 10 day turnaround. I'm hearing horror stories about lumber, appliances, parts, pieces, widgets. Everything that goes into a home at this point in time has a huge lead time. Our turnaround time is 7 to 10 days. We're
great.
able to take an order, you confirm that order, and I put it right to the floor and we get started on it. If there is tempered glass or there's something that's unique, it's going to be a little bit longer. But even during the worst part at the end of 2020, our lead time didn't get any longer than 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's great. I know there's a lot of delays in all the material right now, and everybody's struggling with it. So that's great. A 7 day turnaround is very acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
we talked about single and double pane. Now we're going to talk about single and double hung, which I want to make sure we get that clarification, and also a casement window. So there's basically about 3 types of windows other than a fixed window, but the single hung, double hung, casement, we hear that. And I know a lot of people could be confused with this double hung. They think, oh, double hung is always better, and I always want that. But what are the differences of these 3 single, double, and casement windows? And what kind of quality would you use? What kind of house would you use them in?
So the single hung window is a vertical sliding window that has only the bottom sash moves. So only the bottom goes up and down. Our windows have the ability for them to go up and down and tilt in for cleaning, but the top sash is fixed. It's the most economical window that we manufacture. It's the one that we see mostly in investment homes, duplexes, homes that you're planning to flip, things of that sort. We see people getting a low E single hung white window put in. Okay. If we take a step up and we're going to the residential market, you're a homeowner that's buying windows from us, we see a lot of double hungs. People like the idea of both the top sash and the bottom sash moving and tilting in for easy cleaning. People like that. It's more of if a homeowner is buying a house or planning on staying in it for quite a while, and they're planning on recouping the difference in price over years, rather than investment properties where you're going to be selling and you need to have new windows that are functional, beautiful, and simple. Then the casement windows, which are the crank out windows, they can either crank out to the right, crank out to the left, or they can actually crank out from the bottom. So those are called awning windows, but they're all basically the same type of window. They have a crank on the inside that pushes the sash out. We've started manufacturing casement windows. This is a new venture for us. They've been around a long time, but they're new for us to start manufacturing. What we have found is that they represent about 3% of the market overall. And you may have 1 or 2 casements on a house, on a higher end house, or in a basement area. You may put an awning window in there if it's too small for a slider. Casements generally go in homes that have multiple windows in a room, but none of them are big enough to meet egress. So they'll put a casement in there, which will open up enough to let someone out in case there's an emergency.
Okay, so let's talk about size of windows. I mean, you've got the modern house and you've got the houses built in the 50s and 60s. A lot of investors work on that. And frankly, they just don't build the same size of windows. But I got to replace the windows. So I'm in a house built in the 60s. I've got some odd size windows. How do we address that with your company?
Everything that we do is built to the opening. So we come out, we measure. This is if we're doing the installation. We'll come out, we'll do the measurements, and everything we manufacture is to fit in the opening, in that particular opening. So there may be 4 windows in a living room and a bank of windows, and each one of them may be just a little bit different. Well, we take that into account. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. You're not buying windows that we produced a year ago or 6 months ago that are sitting on the floor waiting to be purchased. We build them after you tell us go. That's when we start them on the production cycle.
Okay, that's definitely an advantage being a manufacturer where you can manufacture for any size. So if we go back a little further to a historical house, which I haven't tackled a lot of those, but I have seen these windows that have the ropes and pulleys on the side. And I know we're talking 1920, 30s, Hyde Park area. There's a lot of those houses. What do you do with what do we do with that window? Can you work with a pulley system on a window, or do you just replace the pane windows?
Sure. There's a couple ways to go. Number one, if your home is on the historic board, or if you're getting tax credits from the government for having a historic home, you can't alter the sight lines in that window very much. So that generally becomes its own animal. That's something that we can't really help with because we're a vinyl window manufacturer. Where we can help is that if you do have those windows refurbished and you keep your rope and pulley, which we see in Hyde Park, we'll see it in Mission Hills. We manufacture a storm window here in town. It's the same process as our standard vinyl window. It's a little bit more of a handcrafted window. So there's not a lot of automation in it. So the lead times are a little longer, but we do make a high quality, custom fit storm window. So when we come out and we measure the height in 3 places, the width in 3 places, and then we measure your center rail. Where's your meeting rail? Because we want the meeting rail of our storm window to meet right where your meeting rails hit. Right. We also offer custom color. We use a Sherwin-Williams DTM paint, which allows a high quality finish that's going to wear like iron. It's also a custom color so that we can match your house, we can accent your house. But what we find is our storm windows tend to disappear. We want them to melt into the woodwork and disappear so that all you see is your beautiful home.
Yeah, that sounds good. I've seen some storm windows that are just, don't look too good, but sounds great. So also a lot of these older homes, they have, or you move the bathroom around a little bit, they've got a window in the bathtub or on the wall, outside wall. Of course, you got a bathtub underneath it.
Yeah.
Even these newer homes have these large 4x4 windows over their tubs or, on the outside wall. What do you recommend on a window and any special recommendations on that type of a window?
So we've seen the beautiful picture windows above a jacuzzi tub, and we've replaced a lot of glass in those. Just the heating and cooling cycle that comes from being in a bathroom, the tendency is that you get it. It seems to have a bit more seal failure over time. The recommendation would be if you're in an older home that has a ventilated window in your bathroom and there's no exhaust fan, the recommendation would be that you put in a slider of some sort. It can be a horizontal slider or a vertical slider so that there's some place for the humidity to escape. You can open that window. We recommend that you do something with it. It needs to be tempered glass, which is your safety glass. And we recommend pairing that with an obscure look, which can be kind of a pebble or a rain or an aqua. There's a variety of different looks that you can have on that glass. What it does is obscure the view, but it leaves sunlight come in.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I've seen some of those different obscure glasses they have today, and like anything, they look really nice. What about patio doors? I know we've talked windows and windows, but sometimes you're doing a whole house, you got a bad patio door there. How do you address a patio door, or do you?
We do. Now we we're more standardized on the patio doors. So we'll do a 5-foot or an 8-foot, no problem. Anything else we have to talk about that. It's, finding those custom sizes or a 4-panel or a 3-panel, it becomes a little bit more difficult for us. But the 5-foot, the 8-foot, we're in good shape. And this would be a good time for me to mention, we also have something called a pet door, which we carry. And what that does is it's a piece of tempered glass, double pane tempered glass that replaces your original glass in your patio door, but it contains a pet door. So it has the ability for Fifi or Rex to go in and out without you opening up that pet door and letting them out every night. So
right through the glass. Right through the glass. Wow.
Installed on there. Yeah. It's a pretty neat feature. We're pretty happy and proud of that. We do have some information on our website about that.
Yeah, that's definitely new. So the windows are great and everything's fine. We always have screens. I know with double pane, you just have a screen. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the screens are in bad shape. Can you just address a screen, or is that too much of a problem for you?
No, Don, Gentaloom has been known for its repair services. We've been repairing screens and storm windows. We've done that since '74. So we're kind of known for that. It's something that we still offer. I've had people bring in 2 pieces of aluminum and ask me to rebuild a screen from those 2 pieces of aluminum. And we've been able to do it.
That's great.
Because we manufacture, we can make screens, we can repair screens, we can do just about anything that needs to be done on a window. We don't offer a lot of repair parts. But as far as screens and glass, we can cover you there. Now, again, what I'd recommend is if you have the opportunity, bring those 2 sticks into our shop. It's going to be the most economical way for us to repair your screens. If you do need us to come out and measure for the screens and install those screens, please note that there's about a $500 minimum for us to roll out a crew to take a look at that. But we're happy to do it.
Well, when a person wants windows, do I just call you up with a measurement of the window, or do you come out and make an appointment to measure it, or how's that work if I want to order windows?
Sure, it all depends. Most often, what we do is we'll get a call, or we're contacted by a homeowner, says I need to order some windows, or I have an interest in some windows. The first question we ask is, are you looking for installation services, or do you have a contractor in mind? So if there's a contractor in mind, we request that the contractor provide the measurements. The window installation side of it is more of an art than it is a science. There are many ways to measure a window. If your contractor balks and says, no, I want the manufacturer to come out and measure, you need to ask yourself, is this the right person to be installing your windows? Any person that installs windows should know how to measure windows. But if you're looking for installation services, we come out, we talk about what you're looking for, what your needs are, and then it'll be a salesperson. Salesperson comes in, writes up a quote, emails you that quote, and will follow up to make sure you have the quote. Not follow up to see if they can get a down payment or a signature, just to make sure that there's no questions or concerns.
Okay.
At that
Yeah,
point,
you mentioned earlier it's 7 to 10 days turnaround. I get that.
Mhm.
That's pretty good. So when we talk about contractor and replacing windows, and I've experienced this a little bit. You've got trim issues. You've got possibly exterior trim, interior trim. You got the wood rot, and how do we approach that when you come in and estimate what's going to need to be done?
Sure. If we come out and there's an abundance of wood rot, we need to pull in an experienced carpenter to address that.
Okay.
There's a reason that it's gone bad. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to try to secure a brand new window into a compromised structure. We want to make sure that the wood rot is addressed. Where is it coming from? Has it been replaced? And then we can come in and replace the window. So we try to partner with a contractor. We have some people that we work with that we're happy to recommend. But we also want to offer that to the customer to pick a contractor or a carpenter that they're comfortable with.
Okay, yeah, the word work is a specialty item for sure. We've got the vinyl windows, and we have wood windows, which we've all heard their name, and then I've started to hear some vinyl clad windows. Which, can you just briefly tell us maybe some pros and cons on each one?
Wood windows are traditional, and they're beautiful. They can be stained, they can be changed, they can be, there's about anything that you can do with a wood window. They're gorgeous. I love them. The con is they rot. No matter how, you're eventually going to get some sort of rot on that window, and repairs are tough on a wood window. If you go with a clad window, which generally that's an aluminum clad over a wood structure, they look terrific the day they're installed. They really do. The problem is that aluminum can hide any issues that are occurring behind it as the wood begins to deteriorate. I've seen casement windows that are aluminum clad, beautiful. They look like they're gorgeous. But if you go to the inside, that's where the wood is exposed, you can see that they're rotting from the inside. And the problem is that the moisture wicks up from the bottom. It doesn't go behind the cladding from the top. It comes in from the bottom, and that can be an issue. So I'm not a big fan of clad. As far as they're pretty expensive, in my opinion, and I think there's an opportunity for things to happen, and you don't know they're happening. That's kind of why we chose to manufacture vinyl windows. We believe that they're the best value, the most economical, and if you follow the care and maintenance of the window, you're going to get just a very long time of useful life out of it.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I experienced that vinyl clad myself, picked it up, and it was all rotted at the bottom. So I know what you're talking about. We have talked about some of the argon and things, what's between the pane of glass, but we've talked about air, argon. I've never krypton. Could you maybe explain what are we looking at here?
Sure. So, the air is whatever is in the humidity and when the two pieces of glass are sandwiched together. It is just what's out there. Argon, you're actually displacing the air with an argon gas, which is heavier. And it gives great thermal protection, stops some of that transference. The overkill is krypton. Krypton gas is heavier than argon, but it is quite a bit more expensive. So to meet certain Energy Star ratings, if you do a triple pane glass, you may have to put that argon gas in there because the gaps between the panes of glass are smaller. So you need something that's going to be more dense. And that's where the argon gas comes in. I've heard horror stories about manufacturing plants that accidentally left the argon tank open and just bled the krypton. And it represents a pretty good investment to refill that tank.
Wow, that's amazing. So we've covered some things about the tempered glass. You said over a tub. And what about a lower glass? You see some glass, and sometimes they're lower in the living room or bedroom. When might you need to have that concern about a window that's in a bedroom?
Sure. As far as tempering goes,
Yes.
one of the things we look at now, every municipality is going to have its own codes. There are some standards, but every municipality will have its own code. So I'd caution you to check those areas out where you live. But the general rule of thumb is if it's within 17 inches of the floor, it needs to be tempered. And that's for safety reasons. If someone trips or falls, you want them to hit a piece of glass that's not going to break into shards. It's going to crumble and be smaller pieces. They also recommend that when you're in a stairwell, if you have a split level stairwell with a landing in it, and there's a window in the landing, that should also be tempered. Anywhere there's an opportunity for fall, you want to try to have tempered glass.
Okay, and the tempered glass just breaks into little bitty small pieces like a shower door.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. A shower door is tempered glass. It breaks into those small pieces.
Okay. All right. So, and really a glass in a window sometimes is referred to as a light.
Yeah.
Run that real quick here. I think we're kind of coming down to our questions here, but how does that terminology goes? I know sometimes terminology confuses some people, and they call them lights.
Sure.
Yeah.
So behind you, Don, you've got some windows, and I'd look at those windows, and those are called a 1/1. If you look at that, it looks like it's one piece of glass over one piece of glass, top sash and bottom sash. If you were to put one vertical grid in the top sash and one vertical grid in the bottom and one horizontal, what you're doing is you're dividing that one light into 4 lights. And then that would be called a 4/4. So basically you count how many pieces of glass are showing between the grids. All the grids on these windows that we manufacture are integrated between the panes of glass. So they're not true grids, but that's how you identify if you're making an order. So someone may be saying, okay, Jim, I need a 36-inch wide and it needs to be 60 inches tall and it's a 4/1. That means that there's a vertical grid and a horizontal grid in the top sash only.
Okay, I think we've covered quite a bit today, and I know our time is probably running out. We don't want to go too long, but I want to thank Jim White with Earthwise. And if you'd like to give your phone number again, feel free to do that. And we'll conclude the questions and answers here.
Excellent. It's Jim White with Earthwise of Kansas City. My phone number is 913-777-4862, or you can reach us at sales@earthwisekc.com. Thank you all.
Thank you.